Katrina Shanks.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's my pleasure to take a call on the electoral referendum bill in its second reading today. As the Minister stated earlier, this received roughly about 1,000 submissions. Most of them were a majority in favour of supporting this bill in one form or another. And this bill honours the Nationals' pre-election promise to hold a referendum on the voting system no later than 2011. Now, this bill's really interesting because you get 2 votes in this bill when it comes into law and in the referendum which will be held with the general election. The first one is, do you wish to keep the current MMP voting system or not? So that's the first vote you get. And the second vote you get is, what alternative voting systems would you prefer from a list of options if New Zealand were to change to another voting system? So if New Zealand's majority votes to keep MMP, therefore the commitment that the government makes is review MMP to see if there's any changes we need to put into that system. So MMP will stay, but we'll look at MMP and whether we can improve it. But if the majority of the country vote not to have MMP, they then get to pick one of the alternative systems, which will be one of the votes in 2011. Now, here are some of the alternatives. So you've decided whether you vote for MMP or not. So FPP, first past the post, is what we previously had. Preferential voting system is another one. Single transferable vote is another one. Supplementary member voting is another alternative. Now, you've got to ask yourself out there, how many people know what those voting systems actually are and what they represent? And I can even tell you, as a Member of Parliament, and the opposition is saying the same, how many people in this House actually understand what those voting systems represent? And they are complicated. So a key message that we're going to do is education, education, education. And a previous member on the opposition, Steve Chadwick, got up and said, it's all about civics and the curriculum. Well, it is, but it's actually greater than that. It's about all of us members of Parliament, 122 of us, going around all our schools, and I know I already do this in Ohara and my local schools, going into the classrooms and talking to them about democracy and getting them engaged in understanding. Because actually it's the kids coming through as well that have to understand the system and know what democracy is all about. So when I go into my schools in Ohara, and I was in Onso just the other day, talking about actually the alcohol and the alcohol reform that's coming, and trying to encourage those kids to come in here, give a submission and be part of the democratic process and actually get a feeling that they can actually make a difference. So we've got a big job ahead of us, engaging the public to want to know what these systems are and engaging them to make an informed decision and giving the information to them in a way that they can understand it. So, Mr Speaker, it was a pleasure to take a call on this bill and I look forward to the next reading. Thank you very much.
Call Chris Hopkins.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker,